Goblin launch detected.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is a bit of an old one, filmed back in 2019, and I'm playing my Mistform Ultimus deck. I keep Patron Wizard, Sol Ring, Griffin Canyon, 2 islands, Rhystic Study, and Loxodon Warhammer. Ghislaine has brought back her Omnath Locus of Rage, keeping a Doubling Season, Burgeoning, Hammer of Perforos, Flamekin Harbinger, Cultivate, Mountain, and Command Tower. Ollie is playing Oona, Queen of the Fae, and keeps a Sol Ring, Mystic Speculation, Ashnod's Altar, Increasing Confusion, Island, and Reliquary Tower. Connor is playing Sigarda, Heron's Grace, keeping Blossoming Sands, 2 Forests, Plains, Bastion Protector, Elder of Laurels, and Mentor of the Meek. Ghislaine wins the die roll and starts us off. She plays a mountain for the turn, and casts Flamekin Harbinger, going to find a Smoke Braider and putting it on top of her library. I play an island and pass to Connor. Connor plays a Blossoming Sands which comes in tapped and gains him 1. Ollie plays an island and casts Sol Ring. Ghislaine plays a Command Tower and then casts her Smoke Braider. Moving to combat, she swings the Harbinger at Ollie for 1. I play a Griffin Canyon and cast Sol Ring and then a Rhystic Study. Connor plays a Plains and passes. Ollie plays a Reliquary Tower and casts Mystic Speculation, paying the buyback, and then scrying 3. Ghislaine plays a Forest and casts Cultivate, but is unable to pay for my Rhystic Study. She goes to find a Forest and a Mountain. Moving to combat, she swings 2 at me and passes turn. I play an island for turn and then cast a Gale Rider Sliver and pass to Connor. Connor plays a Forest and casts Mentor of the Meek and doesn't pay the 1, and I draw. Ollie plays an island and casts Jace's Archivists, but is able to pay the 1, and I don't draw. Ghislaine plays a Hammer of Perforos in her main phase and pays the 1, and then plays a Forest for turn. She follows up with a Burgeoning, allowing me to draw this time around. I play an island, which allows Ghislaine to play a land from her hand, and I then cast Sword of the Anime and suit up the Sliver. Moving to combat, I swing in at Ghislaine and I deal 2 and pass turn. Connor plays a Sunpetal Grove and casts Bastion Protector and pays the 1. Ollie casts a National Altar in his main phase and doesn't pay the 1. And then this time pays Mystic Speculation again, but doesn't buy it back and also doesn't pay the 1. I choose to only draw once, and Ollie then plays a Temple of the False God, which doesn't have Ghislaine putting out a land, and he passes turn. Ghislaine untaps and draws, and goes to cast her Commander. She pays the 1 for Omnath, and then moves to combat, swinging her Commander at me for 5. My turn has me casting a Zombie Lady of Scrolls, and in response, Ollie activates the Jace's Archivist to have everyone windfall. We all discard our hands and draw the highest amount, and then Azami then resolves, and I play a tap Path of Ancestry. This gives Ghislaine a trigger from her Burgeoning, putting a land into play and getting a landfall trigger from Omnath, making an Elemental token. Once more I swing the sliver token at Guylaine, and she takes the hit, and I then pass turn as I go to find a land. Connor untaps and plays Canopy Vista, allowing Guylaine to play another land and making another token. He then taps out for his commander, Sigarda, and passes to Ollie. Ollie plays a swamp for turn, and Guylaine plays another land from her hand into play. Ollie then casts the Eldest Reborn, forcing all players to sacrifice a creature. Ollie activates the Archivist, and then sacrifices it to the altar for 2 colorless mana. We then discard our hands and draw the highest amount, and then sacrifice a creature. Ollie then casts a Lightning Greaves, but doesn't pay the 1, and I draw a card. Guylaine casts a Parallel Lives and pays the 1. In response, Ollie counters it with an Arcane Denial. Guylaine then puts to stack Growing Rites of Itlimoc, and finds Mina and Den, and puts them to hand. She moves to combat, and goes at Ollie for 25, who has no choice but to take it. She then passes, transforming Itlimoc. I untap and play a Galecaster Colossus in my main phase, and then an Amiiboid Changeling. I don't want to waste my resources though, and I just pass to Connor. Connor plays a Seraph Sanctuary in his main phase and gains some life as it enters, which lets Guylaine put another land into play. He then puts to stack Elspeth, Sun's Champion, who comes in, and he downticks her by 3 to destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. In response, I tap the Colossus to bounce Omnath, and the board doesn't get Mega Bolted thankfully, and the loyalty ability then resolves, wiping all the big creatures away. Sigarda then goes at Guylaine, and Connor passes turn. Ollie untaps and moves to Chapter 2, having each of his opponents discard a card. He then casts his commander, Oona, and grieves her up with no objections. With nothing else, he passes. Guylaine untaps and recasts Omnath. She then plays a land, making another elemental token, and casts Mina and Den, and puts a second land into play. Next up is Vigor, followed by a Crucible of Worlds. With a hasty board, she heads to combat. 1 Elemental and Vigor go at Ollie, while 1 Elemental goes at me, and Mina and Den goes at Connor. Ollie blocks the Elemental, and before damage, activates Oona where X is 2 and names Blue, and has me exile my top 2 cards, and gets to make a fairy token. We then take the hits, and Guylaine passes to me. My turn has me casting Fabricate, and I go to find a Sapphire Medallion. I cast it, and then bring Unesh Cryosync Sovereign. I get a 4-card Fact or Fiction, and I pick Ollie to make the piles. I take this one, and then pass to Connor. Connor untaps and casts Skyshroud Claim, going to find 2 forests to put into play. He then upticks Elspeth, making 3 1/1 soldier tokens. He then casts his own copy of Growing Rites of Itlimoc, and puts to hand a Kessig Cagebreakers. He then plays a Plains, which allows Guylaine to put another land into play, and then passes, transforming his Growing Rites as well. Ollie untaps and goes to Chapter 3. He chooses to reanimate the Galecaster Colossus, and then casts a Frayed Insanity as he moves to his main phase, cursing me. He then casts Traumatize and targets me, having me mill half of my library. He then activates Oona for 3 and targets me once more, and then passes to his end step. This has me milling the remainder of my library from the Frayed Insanity, and Guylaine decides to Ghost Quarter her own land to go and find a land drop and get a landfall trigger from Omnath. Guylaine untaps and plays Ghost Quarter, and then Kessig Wolfrun from her graveyard, making 2 more elemental tokens. She then moves to combat, swinging all of her tokens and Vigor at Connor. Before blocks, Connor activates Sigarda, exiling some cards to make some shoulder tokens, and blocks 3 of the elementals with 1 soldier each, and 2 of the elementals get 2 soldiers each, and then double blocks Vigor with Sigarda and the Bastion Protector. Before moving to damage though, Guylaine activates the Kessig Wolf Run to give one of her elemental tokens +9 in Trample. She then activates Mina and Den 4 times, returning lands to hand to give the blocked elementals Trample. Connor and Ollie then make a deal, with Ollie upholding his end of the bargain by bouncing a large elemental and Omnath to Guylaine's hand. Damage is then dealt, with Guylaine's elementals getting +1/+1 counters, and one of them getting 2 +1/+1 counters, while Vigor gets shuffled back into her library, and she passes to me. I untap, and I can't draw, and I lose the game. Connor upticks Elspeth in his main phase, making 3 more soldier tokens, and then casts Gallows at the Willow Hill. He then plays a Plains, and Guylaine puts a Ghost Quarter from her hand to the field. He next casts a Kessig Cagebreakers, and with nothing else, passes turn. At the end of turn, Guylaine Ghost Quarters Ollie's Temple of the False God. Ollie untaps and draws. He casts Skull Clamp and equips it to his Fairy token, which has it dying and drawing 2. He places Scorched Ruins and sacrifices 2 of his untapped lands. He then casts a Peregrine Drake, which allows him to untap 5 lands as it enters, and does so. He then gives the Drake the Clamp, and activates Oona where X is 5, and names Green, targeting Guylaine, and this time is able to get 2 fairies from the cards he mills. He then clamps both of them, drawing 4 cards deeper. He next sacrifices both of his other creatures to the Ashnod's altar, making 4 colorless, and casts Oblivion Sower and targets Connor, which has him exiling his top 4. But because Connor had already exiled some lands to Sigarda earlier, Ollie's then able to play 7 lands from exile. He then clamps the Sower and sacrifices to the altar for another 2 colorless, and draws 2 more cards. He then casts Commander Sphere, and taps it for a blue and sacrifices it to draw a card. Ollie then casts a Manic Scribe, which comes in and has his opponent's milling 3, and then he clamps that to dig even deeper. He casts another creature and clamps it to draw 2 more cards. He unfortunately falls off the train though, and casts a Thought Vessel, and has to pass turn. In Ollie's end step, Connor activates Sigarda 2 more times to make 2 more soldiers, and then taps enough to activate the Gallows to take out Mina and Den, and gives Guylaine a Flying Spirit instead. Guylaine untaps and draws. She recasts Omnath, but unfortunately gets foiled by Ollie. Persistent, since she has plenty of mana, she recasts Omnath. She then activates the Ghost Quarter to take out Connor's copy of Itlamok, and then casts Kalni Heart Expedition. Moving to combat, she swings lethal at Ollie, and the rest of the team at Connor, who blocks what he can, but still takes 12. With nothing else, she passes to Connor. Connor untaps and draws. He plays a land, and in response to the Burgeoning trigger, casts Swords to Plowshares and targets Omnath. It gets exiled, and Guylaine gains some life. He then moves to combat and swings Sigarda and the Kessig Cagebreakers, which, when they get tapped, make him 8 wolf tokens tapped and attacking as well. Before blocks though, Guylaine sacrifices a land to make a golem, and blocks one of the wolves, but takes the rest of the hits. Connor then removes the remaining counters on Elspeth to wipe away the boards of creatures 4 power or greater, and once that's resolved, recasts Sigarda, and then plays out Angel of Finality to exile Guylaine's graveyard. Guylaine draws for turn and puts on her thinking cap, and then decides to recast Omnath. She plays a land and makes another elemental token from the Omnath landfall trigger, and gets another counter on her Kalni Heart Expedition. She then casts a Thunderfoot Baloth and swings the team at Connor. Unfortunately, without enough toughness to survive, Connor gets knocked out the good old-fashioned way with a beatdown. Game review time. So that was a bit of a beatdown fest, wasn't it? It actually took Ollie's turn where he cast the Fray Insanity several minutes to decide on who to put it onto, because Guylaine was also a big threat, but I was probably most likely to combo off sooner. I don't hold it against him though, since his Ami on the board plus all those wizards I had meant that I was probably going to draw into Mind Over Matter soon enough. That did leave him particularly vulnerable to his partner, since Guylaine was building a massive board of elementals, and even with the combined might of Connor and Ollie, she still was able to deal with them in short order. I also really liked Connor's deck since it seemed to be very thematic, based around Sigarda and all the humans from Innistrad, and had fun cards like that Gallows. And this game was one of the few times outside of a cube where I actually got to see someone swing with the Kessig Cage Breakers and have them make wolves. It was pretty sweet. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.